You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
I mean, look, I was definitely, I feel like I was born to be a hunter rider, just with the experiences that I was given as a child. Like, I did a lot of fox hunting, hunter paces, even cross country, went to cross country camp in Vermont, a camp called Vershire. And most of when I was growing up, I did the jumpers. I always had a thoroughbred jumper or what have you. And as I got older and became a professional, I just remember I worked for Frank Hernandez early on in my professional career. And, he kept pushing the hunters. And I'm like, everything's a jumper. Everything's a jumper. And I did one of his hunters that was kind of a difficult horse to ride. Her name was Nikki, and she was forward and she was beautiful. And I did her in one hunter class, and I won that class, and then I was hooked. Then everything was just hunters. And I feel that the hunter division is really a great way to learn how to become a forward rider, and I think that's very important in this sport. But I also love what the hunters have to offer. There's nothing better than watching a hunter lope around the ring like nothing's a big deal and then just explode over the top of the jump, land just as calm and cool as anything. And that's hard to do, right? I mean, most athletes, when they express themselves, they celebrate on the other side, So, football players doing their dances in the end zone and, basketball players pounding it out when they make a nice shot. Like these horses, sometimes they just kapow over the jumps and then they just land so cool and confident. And I think for me, that's what's exciting about working with the hunters is to get them to be able to really accomplish that in the show ring. And that's why I like the hunters.
Welcome to the Practical Horseman podcast, featuring conversations with respected riders, industry leaders, and horse care experts. Our goal is to inform, educate, and inspire riders of all levels. I'm Practical Horseman editor Alana Harrison. This episode, sponsored by Tribute and Farnham, is with hunter, rider, and trainer Crystal Young. In recent years, Crystal Young has made a name for herself as a top up-and-coming hunter contender through her remarkable success with MTM Nonchalant, owned by Adelle Alletto. The pair celebrated a win in the 2023 Green Hunter 3-foot stake at WEC 7 and a second-place finish in the 2023 $15,000 USHJA National Hunter Derby Open at the Equus Events Tryon Spring 3. In 2024, Crystal and the 11-year-old KWPN gelding took top honors at the Performance Hunter 3-3 Championship at the Ocala Winter Finals. The Green Hunter 3-3 3-6 Championship at the Mid-Spring Concours, and the 10,000 UF Veterinary Hospital USHJA National 3-foot Open Hunter Derby at the World Equestrian Center. She and the gelding maintained their competitive edge during the 2025 competition season, with a fourth-place finish in the $15,000 USHJA International Hunter Derby at the Equus Events Tryon Spring 3, a first-place finish in the Green Hunter 3-6 FP at WEC Ocala Summer 6, and a second-place finish in the Green Hunter 3-6 Championship at WEC Ocala Summer 9. But the defining moment of their 2025 season came at the Pennsylvania National Horse Show, where the duo claimed reserve champion in the Green Hunter 3-6 division. While growing up in Nutley, New Jersey, it was Crystal's mom who first ignited her passion for horses. Diane Young primarily rode Western and would bring Crystal along to the barn, where she taught her daughter basic horsemanship skills, and the two enjoyed trail riding together. By the time the budding equestrian was 12, her mom introduced her to the historic suburban Essex barn near West Orange, New Jersey, where Crystal first discovered English disciplines and her passion for hunters. After gaining experience as a working student at suburban Essex throughout her teenage years, she went on to work for notable horsewomen like Beth Battle, Anne Shear, Nikki Fry, Ann Krasinski, and Carol Thompson, where she gained invaluable insights and learned what it takes to produce complete horsemen and women. From fox hunting and hunter paces to hunters, jumpers, dressage, and cross country, these strong female mentors taught Crystal that true horsemanship stems from foundation and versatility. In recent years, Crystal has received guidance in the hunter ring from Mike McCormick, Don Stewart, and Brian Figas, all of whom provided her with immeasurable wisdom and helped elevate her own training program. She and MTM Nonchalant kicked off the 2026 season with a bang, winning the Green Hunter 3-9 FP at the Winter Spectacular and the Performance Hunter 3'6" Handy at the Winter Spectacular 2. The pair also had a third-place finish in the Green Hunter 3-9 at the Winter Spectacular and a ninth-place finish at the $75,000 USHJA WCHR East Coast Hunter Spectacular. In today's podcast, we talk with Crystal about her special partnership with both MTM Nonchalant and Adelle, why she fell in love with hunters, the strong horsewomen who shaped her career, and her overall training philosophy. At Tribute Equine Nutrition, caring for horses has always come first. As a family-owned company, safely making feed right here in the USA, they're celebrating America's 250th anniversary by supporting programs that make a difference through horses. Every bag of Tribute sold helps support Path International's Equine Services for Heroes programs, helping veterans through equine-assisted services. They've also introduced limited edition patriotic horse treats for the summer. Ready to try Tribute? Start with a free personalized feeding plan and your first bag free at tributeequinenutrition.com. That's tributeequinenutrition.com. Hi, Crystal. Welcome to the Practical Horseman podcast. We are so excited to have you today.
Thank you, Alana. I'm so happy to be here. This is very exciting for me as well.
Excellent. Well, jumping right into our questions, Crystal, you have really made a name for yourself as a top up-and-coming hunter rider with 11-year-old KWPN gelding MTM Nonchalant after remarkable success together, including taking reserve champion in the Green Hunter 3-6 division at the 2025 Pennsylvania National Horse Show. Would you mind, Crystal, just telling us about your partnership with him?
So his barn name is Blake, and he is probably one of the most magnificent horses I've ever had the opportunity to work with. He is pretty much the same guy every day, but when we originally purchased him, we purchased him for the family that I worked for, the Allettos. Adelle Alletto was we purchased him early on in her junior career as her one of her junior hunters, and he was a little quirky, as most talented horses can be. So it took us a little bit of time to really get to know each other, and I feel that now that we do, he is the easiest horse that we have in the barn. He's very regimented, structured. He loves to go out on the trails. He loves to flat. He loves to jump. He loves every part of his job. So I would say he's probably, for me, the most comfortable horse to get on and ride every day.
Yeah. And Crystal, can you tell us a little bit about his personality kind of behind the scenes, like what he's like in the barn?
Yes, he's like a puppy in the barn. He's very easygoing. He's a horse in the barn he's not real touchy feely, but he's very respectful, kind, gentleman type horse. He's always a gentleman. He is just recently given into kisses. He's not real big on that stuff, but now he's like, okay, I'll give you a kiss for a treat, whatever I need to do. And he's like my bestie. He just kind of hangs out. He's chill. He eats hay, takes naps. He loves to be outside. He's just a big horse. It's about it. He's not real exciting in the barn, but he's very kind and loving.
Yeah. And I remember, Crystal, you had mentioned to me in a previous article we had worked on about his early tendency to squeal over the last fence on course. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I will say, as a show horse, he is all about being a show horse, a competitor. He wants to get in that ring and compete. And he's not interested in being in the schooling ring as much as he is getting into that ring. And we first noticed that he was sort of celebrating to the last jump when I was doing a derby that didn't have 8 jumps in it. It had maybe 11 or 12 jumps. And he was going to the 8th jump and he started screaming. And I noticed that he had always screamed in regular hunter trips, but I didn't really realize what it was all about. And it was at that moment I was like, oh, this is him celebrating. He's thinking he's going to the last jump, and then here we go around a couple more jumps and he seemed a little bit confused. And when I came out of the ring, I said, oh, he's celebrating. Maybe we stop clapping, even if he has, a 90 score. We don't clap for him if he screams in the ring. And I mean, we did that maybe twice and it stopped. The screaming stopped in the ring. So to me, he's such a competitor. He wants to go get in that ring and get to work. And the screaming was so annoying in the beginning, but then once I realized what it was like we just had to embrace it a little bit because, it's just his idea of telling you he's really great at what he's doing. And he's excited about it. So what's better than that?
Right. No, I thought that was so cute. And I mean, so smart that he figured it out.
I think
So
that's what
fast.
it is about him is he's so in tune, with everything around him and what's going on and what he's there to do. I think that's what makes him such an interesting horse. He's very smart, it just blows my mind. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah. No, yeah, sure. He celebrates, but like he really does celebrate and he really does try to get in that ring and show off, He's a great horse. He really is.
So cute. And I know, Crystal, you're in Traverse City right now. Are you competing with him there, or what's next for you two?
So yes, we are here in Traverse City, And after indoors this year, we started Adelle doing him in the 3-6 juniors, and she's been very successful with him in the junior ranks. She was reserve champion at Devon on him this year. They won the Handy for the third year in a row. So, and then we just got back from Junior Hunter Finals where she had some really nice ribbons and trips on him. So I think that's pretty much now it's time for him to be her junior hunter, and that's what we really set out to do. I'm sure I'll do some derbies with him in the, in between. And I'm not quite sure about derby finals, but I do know that there are some more international derbies for us in his future. And I think that's just to keep him interested and excited. He's so talented. Like, I don't want him to ever get bored of his job. I want him to always be excited by it. So putting him in some more challenging classes here and there, I think will keep him, ready to go to win those classes with Adelle.
And Crystal, would you mind telling us about any other horses that you're currently working with or excited about?
Sure. So Adelle is my one and only student, and she has 9 or 10 horses right now, but she owns, I think, about 6 or 7 of them. And most of them are MTM horses, and a few in there are from Don Stewart. But all of them are just remarkable horses to work with. I work with some of her junior hunters. Luke is MTM grateful, and he's been very successful in the junior hunters. Jackson Billy is one of her jumpers. So mainly I school them in between, show them in some classes, keep them prepared and ready, but to get them ready for her to do the juniors or the 125s or the equitation. So, but all of her horses are just so well rounded and have amazing skill sets. She really has such an array of different horses with different personalities, but they're all spectacular, and they all have, like, I'm so happy that we found so many amazing horses to work with. It's just so mind-blowing to me because I've worked my whole career and really haven't come across even 2 or 3 horses that can hold up to what she has in the barn to ride. So we're just so fortunate. They're all amazing, and we have 10. So it's been really, really a great, journey for me.
Definitely probably keeps you busy for sure.
100%.
And Crystal, yeah. And in recent years, you've received guidance in the hunter ring from Mike McCormick, Don Stewart, and Brian Vigas. Can you tell us a little bit about those experiences and how you feel they've kind of helped you elevate your program?
For sure. So Mike McCormick I have such an immense respect for Mike McCormick because I feel like he is a true horseman, and he is just the opportunity to get to watch him work with horses. It's incredible. He manages to train horses, in my opinion, to carry themselves. And he does it from the ground mostly, but he also has some incredible riders that keep that going with him. But I feel like whenever you go to Mike's to ride one of his horses, you can pretty much just sit pretty. They're gonna do their job, and I think that makes a rider have the ability to let go and trust. Because they're going to go to the other side of the jump. Most of the times, they're going to be able to balance themselves up and find the jump for you if you allow them to. So I think mainly learning from Mike has given me a little bit more confidence in riding forward, actually. And with Don, it's been, and he just has so much knowledge in this sport. Just to stand next to him and listen to him speak, even 2 sentences, you're going to learn something, and he's so much fun to be around. He makes this very light, he doesn't make this such a high pressure, you know, serious sport. He keeps it fun and exciting. And I mean, the things that you can learn from Don are, I'm so fortunate to stand next to him every day and be able to listen to him speak and teach me, help me. He's incredible. And then there's Brian. Brian Vigas is just, he has a different way of thinking, and he's just a master. Like, he's like a BMW, he's like the ultimate riding machine. You know what I mean? He's high performance and very detail oriented, and he has really given me structure in my position and riding, and he's given me tools in the show ring to focus on, so it doesn't become all about nerves. It becomes about using those tools to be successful, which has been so helpful, especially with Blake in my riding. And I also have one other friend that I wanted to mention, who's been very influential in my career throughout. I mean, since I was a kid, he's been bringing me along in this business, and that's John Cologne. He's he's been in this sport forever, and he's almost done every single part of it. His kids, every student that he's taught, I look at them and I go, wow, they're just like the epitome of equitation, or, soft riders. And he really brings them along with a great education and structure in their riding. He's also a large R judge, and he's helping me get my large R judge's card. Andrea Wells is mentoring me, but John, I feel, has really pushed me in the right direction throughout this sport. And I just wanted to take a second to mention him because he's been so influential in my career as a friend, as a as a mentor, as a professional. He's done every single part of it. So I've been really fortunate to have some excellent professionals guide me along the way.
This episode is also brought to you by Farnham, celebrating 80 years of trusted equine care and Endure Gold Killer fly and mosquito control and new fly spray for horses. When your horse needs to stay focused, it helps to take flies out of the equation. Endure Gold uses brand new EPA approved ingredients never before seen in equine care to annihilate flies, ticks, and mosquitoes. This advanced formula delivers fast knockdown and up to 14 days of fly protection you can trust. Discover fly protection with an Endure Gold from Farnham. Yeah. And Crystal, shifting gears a bit, especially for listeners who may not know, can you tell us about your riding roots and how you got started with horses? We understand that your mom was quite instrumental in your early riding days, so we just love to hear about that.
For sure. Yeah. My mother grew up riding as well. She mostly rode Western. And as a kid, she would take me out to the, Western barns and go trail riding. And, I think she always worked with the horses. So she had more privileges at the barns that we went to, that she could take me out and ride and stuff. So from a very early age, I was introduced to horses. And then she brought me later on in my childhood, probably around 12 or 13, she brought me to a farm called Suburban Essex. And she literally like dropped me off. And she dropped me off every day. After school, she'd make sure I got to the barn. I was a working student in the barn, taking care of the school horses, getting them ready for lessons. And back then, we had mainly straight stalls for the school horses. So it was a big job. I learned how to manage their feet, keep them free of thrush, make sure their stalls were clean, make sure they got ample turnout and exercise. And I think the fact that my mom like literally dropped me off to be a barn rat is what really shaped me as a horseman, because it gave me the opportunity to really absorb them and understand where they were coming from and learn, get hurt or, make a mistake and really learn from the horses that was a mistake without, somebody going, oh, watch out, that's not safe or something like that. Maybe not the safest way to learn, but literally the best way, in my opinion, because that's how I learned. So for that, we didn't have a ton of money, and I had to work for most of my lessons, and happily I did so. So it really made me appreciate, that 1 half hour, group lesson I would get a week for, mucking 50 stalls and tacking up all the ponies and stuff. So, I feel like there's such a big appreciation from me and respect level for these animals because of how much I went through to be able to do it, if that makes sense. So I give my mom a ton of credit for allowing me to have that experience.
Yeah, and Crystal, can you remind me where you grew up?
So I grew up in Nutley, New Jersey. So it was North Jersey, and suburban Essex. It was a farm. Well, I don't even know if you would consider it a farm, but it was a stable. It had a barn on it, and it wasn't very big. But I know, suburban Essex was grandfathered in. I believe it's in Verona, West Orange area, and it's literally what shaped me as a horse person today. That's where Ann Shear, uh, I started riding with her and Nikki Fry, and then later on after suburban Essex, I moved out towards Bedminster to ride, and I did a lot of fox hunting out there, and I was able to learn from so many big professionals being underneath Anne's guidance as a trainer. She really took us everywhere. She took us to Europe, and she, you know, took us to Frank Chapeau and George Morris, and all the, Greg Best would come and give clinics. And I just was able to learn from all the best. And I'm so fortunate because I didn't have really the means to be able to do that. And my mother put me in the right place, the right time, and I worked really hard for it. I wouldn't change any of that, because of what I was able to do. Being a barn rat means you're always there, and you're always just in the right place, the right time, So whether it be the right experience, the wrong experience, whatever you're learning. So um, I'm really grateful for that opportunity growing up as a child.
Yeah, what a fabulous experience. And like you said, as a barn rat, you just absorb, yeah, you absorb everything. The
You're
good,
just
the bad.
there. Yeah, you're always
Yeah,
there. How could you not learn?
exactly.
You know?
And Crystal, is there anything in particular about hunters that really resonated with you opposed to other equestrian sports?
I mean, look, I was definitely, I feel like I was born to be a hunter rider, just with the experiences that I was given as a child. Like, I did a lot of fox hunting, hunter paces, um, even cross country, went to cross country camp in Vermont, a camp called Vershire. And most of when I was growing up, I did the jumpers. I always had a thoroughbred jumper or what have you. And as I got older and became a professional, I just remember I worked for Frank Hernandez early on in my professional career. And, he kept pushing the hunters. And I'm like, everything's a jumper, everything's a jumper. And I did one of his hunters that was kind of a difficult horse to ride. Her name was Nikki, and she was forward and she was beautiful. And I did her in one hunter class, and I won that class, and then I was hooked. Then everything was just hunters, hunters, hunters. And I feel that this the hunter division is really a great way to learn how to become a forward rider, and I think that's very important in this sport. But I also love what the hunters have to offer. There's nothing better than watching a hunter lope around the ring like nothing's a big deal and then just explode over the top of the jump, land just as calm and cool as anything. And that's hard to do, right? I mean, most athletes, when they express themselves, they celebrate on the other side, So, football players doing their dances in the end zone, and, basketball players pounding it out when they make a nice shot. Like, these horses, sometimes they just kapow over the jumps and then they just land so cool and confident. And I think for me, that's what's exciting about working with the hunters, is to get them to be able to really accomplish that in the show ring. And that's why I like the hunters.
No, that's such a cool perspective. You're right, because it's like they do have to like go back and forth between that for sure.
And they're so fancy, and they're beautiful to look at and watch, and well turned out. And the jumpers are great. I love the jumpers. I think it's excellent. The equitation as well. All the disciplines, reining. I love dressage. All of them are, fantastic. I think I get really into the hunters because of the forward riding and the beauty of the sport.
For sure. And Crystal, you mentioned a bit ago about working with Ann Shear and Nikki Fry, and I know you've also talked about in the past working with other strong horsemen like Beth Badel and Ann Krasinski, as well as Carol Thompson. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience with these women and any key insights that you took away from your time with them?
Well, they eat nails for breakfast. I'm just kidding, but all of those women are really tough horsewomen that are confident in what they're doing, and so knowledgeable, and have great exercises to sort of get what you want from the horse and rider without forcing it, or most of them have given me really great great training. I feel like they're great horsemen, all of them, and they all have a little bit of a different perspective on the way that they look at the sport. And I learned a lot from them, as far as, okay, so look, those women, to me, like, I feel like they can fix a fence board, they can drive a tractor, they can, build a barn, and then they're real horsewomen too. So they come from a direction that a lot of women I don't see in my in everyday life coming from. They come strong, and that's really important for a kid to see, or a young girl to see as they're growing up, is that strong women that have really sincere intentions and and knowledge, and they give that to you with confidence. I feel that that's the best way to learn from someone. And that's what they did for me. I don't know if that makes much sense, but it really, it truly helped me in my career. Just know that what I'm doing and working on is something that I've experienced already and learned from, and to be confident about that. And don't let people sort of push you off of what you know is to be right.
Right. No, exactly. I think we've all learned something from strong horsewomen in our lives, for sure. Crystal, do you struggle with competition nerves, or have you in the past? And if so, how do you deal with those in the moment?
So I don't necessarily struggle with it because I feel like I've never really been allowed to. It's never been something that I've had be something that can play a part for me. You know, I've the ability to go out there and compete has always been a privilege to me. And I would never let that sort of my nerves or anything stop me from walking into an arena. And 9 times out of 10, I was doing this on other people's horses. So it's really not, there's no time for your nerves in those instances. But for sure, I've been very nervous walking into a ring. And sometimes I've said to myself, maybe is there a way out? Like a good story for you is my first time competing at Devon. And John Cologne, who I'd mentioned earlier, was training me at this horse show. I was riding a really great horse named Rick Tig that Beth Patel had bred. And so, we worked hard all year getting to qualify for Devon. I competed at all the indoor shows up north in New York and Old Salem and, New Jersey in the freezing cold to qualify for Devon. And we make it to Devon, and we can't get a jump in the schooling ring because we're like pretty much nobodies at that point. Not really going to walk up to Scott Stewart or Luis Serio and say, hey, can we get that jump? So we're going into the Dixon Oval, and I haven't really schooled over any jumps yet. And somebody put a cooler on a jump as I was getting to school over a jump, and my horse spooked and flew sideways. And now I'm like on deck, and I'm like, I just look at John, and I'm like, John, can we scratch? He's like, not a chance, So off I go. I think that was probably one of my most nervous moments, and where I was closest to saying, no way, I'm not doing this. But he didn't let me get away with it, so I never attempted again, So I think thank God that was early on in my career. So I knew that, the nerves can't play a part. You just have to be able to, at some point, let them go and just go in there and get it done, and take everything that and all the tools that you've been given, and go out there and try to use them. And if it doesn't work, you get back on and try again. That's all.
Exactly. And Crystal, do you have any competition superstitions or any type of routine before a big competition or class?
I listen to hip hop music, or rap, and I definitely pump the music on the way to the barn or to the competition, whatever I'm doing. I take a couple minutes and listen to some good music and get myself amped up to go out there and compete. But other than that, I try to stay away from, wearing the same underwear or, socks or whatever. I try not to get too superstitious, because if you don't have that particular thing when you go, it's just, mentally it's over for you. So yeah, that's about it for me on the superstitions.
Sure.
I know. It's so funny how some of the eventers have like 20 different things with them, socks and
Yeah.
everything else. Yeah.
Some of these kids are wearing bracelets, all the way up their arm, and you're like, you're going into the equitation. Yeah, take that off. you know.
Exactly. Exactly. And then, Crystal, can you kind of talk about your overall training philosophy with your horses?
For sure. I think.
And maybe kind of a little bit like what their fitness routines look like too.
Sure. So for me, I'm big on having respect for the horse, and being considerate of the horse and what you're riding. I really feel I like to train forward riding, and I mostly the program that our horses are in is we do a lot of competing throughout the year. So I try to keep it so the horses aren't always in the ring, that there's places for them to trail ride and have easy days where we can still get some work out of them. The way I was raised is a lot of the things that I learned were in a field. I could do most of my flat work in a field and stay out of a ring, which I really think the horses appreciate. And I try not to jump them too much because they're always competing. So I try to come up with small exercises throughout the week to keep them in sort of a in shape routine and focused on, what their weaknesses are in the ring. And that's basically it. I'm just really big on horses being respected and trying to move as one with them.
And do you have, Crystal, with those like basic exercise, any favorite kind of go-to training exercises that you use for the hunter ring?
Yes, I love an exercise that I learned from Ann Krasinski. Uh, it's a 2-point exercise with your hands sort of wide, and you just allow your horse, you start counting about 8 strides out from the jump, not allowed to touch the neck. Really teaches you how to allow your horse to carry itself to the jump. And then all of a sudden you start finding that they start using their own eye. Because they're allowed to at that point, which it gives the horse a confident feel going to the jumps, and it also gives the rider a confident feel going to the jumps because all of a sudden all the distances are just showing up, and I love that exercise. I'm really big on transitions. So your horses are sharp in your aids when you get out to the ring. You don't want to you need to adjust their stride quickly without it being too obvious. Then your horse is right there with you because you've done so many transitions or whatnot. So self carriage is big in my training, and uh, I like to really work on doing things in a seamless way. So I don't like to see all the adjustments or feel a huge change in the ride. So I really, really focus on that in my training, I would say.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And then in all equestrian sports, we know things often don't go as planned, and you kind of have to learn to deal with those moments. Can you speak, Crystal, to any disappointments in your career or setbacks and kind of how you've learned to handle those?
I think every day we have some setbacks, that we have to kind of conquer. Um, I would say the way that I try to look at things, I try to get focused on positive, and then I think what I'm trying to say here is that if you have a setback, especially like in your training with a horse, you might need to bring it down a notch in that moment and try to accomplish something a little bit more basic before you attempt to go after what you originally had set out to do, because that might be proving to be too much for you and that particular horse at that moment. So I think, I don't want to say dumb it down a little bit, but I think maybe bringing it back to a smaller scale is really helpful to getting back to where you want it to be. And I quite often don't see a ton of people do that. I see them try to do things over and over and over again and get a different result. And I don't know that that's going to be the answer. I think breaking something down, whether it be uh, you know, a gymnastic or a flat work exercise or anything like that, if you find that it's, you've tried it 2 or 3 times and you're really just going backwards, then you just take it to the first step and then try to get that first step down really well and then move to the second step. I think a lot of people in this industry are moving quickly and want very fast results. And I tend to be okay with stepping back and taking a little bit of a breather and trying again. And if it takes us 2 weeks to get to a place where we wanted to get there in 2 days, that's okay. Because I think in the long run, that's going to be more stable for you. That's going to be more consistent and sure, instead of just taking the chance of doing the big thing and maybe getting it right or maybe not. So that's what I try to do.
Yeah, no,
I try to break it down.
I think that's such a good point. We probably have all had moments where we just feel overfaced or overwhelmed, and sometimes probably for both the horse and the rider, just going back because regain that confidence. And
For sure. I think a lot of people they feel less of a person or not as good if they have to go what they feel to be backwards, but it's not backwards. It's just to get you to move forward better, you know?
yeah, yes, very, very well put. Move
Yeah.
forward better. I love it. And Crystal, what would you say the hardest part of the sport is for you?
I I would say the hardest part is for me personally is sometimes getting across what I'm trying to accomplish. I want to be successful with these horses and make sure that I give them the utmost respect, make sure that they have everything that they need on a regular basis. And sometimes that can be challenging. From Okay, so the hardest part of the sport is moving along in and traveling with the horses and making sure that they are okay all the time. I think that's the difficulty in this sport, and organizing your schedule to make sure that they are a priority and that they are cared for. And not that's hard. I think that just is difficult to organize. That is my main goal that I set out to do for them, because I believe we get the best performance from them when they are happy and when they are able to be horses. So I would say moving to some of these venues and traveling, it can be challenging to find all the proper things for them to keep them happy, if that makes sense. Like turnout in the mountains, or it's there's big hills in those fields.
For sure. There's just so much planning, I'm sure, that goes into it. And then, Crystal, on the flip side, what would you say your favorite part of the sport is?
On the flip side, my favorite part of the sport is being able to be with these animals every day, and the opportunity to ride them and to go into an arena and feel like you have a true partnership where somebody has, well, they have your back 100%, and they're following your lead and you're totally in tune. It's so incredible because I don't feel like people get to do that with each other. I think that's a hard thing to accomplish with people, relationships in general. You know, with horses, I feel like with especially with Blake, um, you know, the trust that we've gained for each other and the respect that we've gained for each other is so it's so amazing. It's such a great feeling to have. Um, I, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's not a lot of people get to experience those things with an animal, and it's kind of crazy because it's so honest and true. So my favorite part of this sport is are the horses, just the opportunity and the opportunity to learn. To have somebody like Don Stewart by your side teaching you all day, and it's such a huge opportunity, and friends like Brian and John and Mike McCormick out there, teaching me all these things. I live for that. I could learn from these people all day. So yeah, no, and the traveling Traverse City, it's beautiful. I'm so fortunate to get to go to all these different places and train Adele in these different venues. So I have so many parts of this sport that I love so much that it really makes it hard to think about what's bad, or what's hard in the sport.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the best things about it is that we're always learning. There's always something new out there for sure.
Always. And it might not be the right thing, but you're going to learn, and I think that's so important as a horseman, is that, you want to keep learning. It's when you stop yourself from learning is the day you stop progressing, in my opinion. You have to be open to learning, for sure.
Absolutely.
And then, Crystal, outside of riding, is there anything you do to stay fit, in shape for a sport that requires so much strength and stamina?
There's really no time. Yeah, there's really no time for me to figure something like that out. But I would, yeah, no, I pretty much ride and teach all day long, and when I'm done, I try to make food to eat, and that's about it. I know some people are big in going to the gym and all that, and I wish maybe I was a little bit more in tune with that idea. But for me, I'd rather take a horse and walk it and graze it for a few minutes than go to the gym. So that's what I do.
Yeah, for sure. And you alluded to this a little bit, Crystal, but in your opinion, what makes a good horse person?
Yeah, so the ability to continue learning, like I said, and someone who's considerate and compassionate to the horse, trying to put them on an equal playing field as us, but not humanize them too much. And I like to be respectful of, and I'll talk about Blake again. But he's a little claustrophobic, and so am I. So I try to respect that. When I get on him, I see a huge ring with tons of people in it. I'm going to go over to the little ring and, let him get his focus right. And I think that's so important as a horseman, is to understand what horse you're working with and to try to give them what they're asking for to get the most from them. If you're a little claustrophobic and you go into a big crazy ring, you're expecting a little too much from me at that moment, so take it down and go over here and try. So being able to change your plan a little bit based off of the horse and its needs is, I think, what makes a good horseman. Being able to learn from your mistakes or from your accomplishments is what makes a good horseman. And just being open to learning about those things. Quite often you see people get a little bit stuck in their ways and not be open to any other way. And that could limit the horse's success.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what's really important in being a horseman.
For sure. And then, Crystal, we just had a couple fun last questions for you.
Okay.
When you're not riding, where can we find you? Or if you're always riding, is there anything about you that you could share that people might not know?
Yes, I love to play poker. But so I will often find a poker room wherever I'm at and get into that. And I like playing pool. So I'm pretty competitive in any of those things. So yeah, I like to play some pool and I like to play poker. And that's my.
I love it. Well, yeah, I've heard that Margie Engel has a poker game at Traverse City. So you guys, might need to connect.
I have to get invited to that. I haven't been invited yet, but I've been hearing some buzz about it. I don't want to take all their money. So, I
love it. And then mares or geldings?
So geldings, because I always say, mares are less forgiving, and geldings are, men. So I do love a good mare, but for the most part, I'd say the geldings are the way to go.
Yeah. Yep. I'm a gelding girl too. I get it. Well, Crystal, we have covered so many topics, but is there anything I just didn't think to ask you that you wanted to add today? Or do you feel like we pretty much covered the gamut there?
I think we should do the whole thing over again because I want to redo. No, I think this was great.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Practical Horseman podcast. And a big thank you to the episode sponsors, Farnham and Tribute. You can subscribe to the Practical Horseman podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. While you're there, please rate and review the show. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Alana Harrison, and you've been listening to the Practical Horseman podcast.